In the shadows of Silicon Valley, beyond the polished keynotes and billion-dollar launches, there exists a quiet battlefield where the war isn't fought with weapons, but with code, control, and influence. At the center of it are two giants, Apple Incorporated and Google. To the world, they appear as rivals competing for your attention, your data, and your loyalty. But beneath that surface lies a far more complex relationship, one built on both conflict and cooperation, a paradox that shapes nearly every digital experience you have today. It wasn't always like this. In the early 2000s, the two companies were close allies, almost like members of the same inner circle. Steve Jobs admired Google's innovation, while Eric Schmidt even sat on Apple's board of directors. The collaboration seemed natural. Both companies were pushing the boundaries of what technology could do. They shared ideas, influence, and a vision of the future. But that alliance began to fracture the moment Apple introduced something that would redefine the entire industry: the iPhone. When the iPhone launched in 2007, it didn't just disrupt the market, it rewrote the rules. And Google, watching closely, realized it had to respond fast. What followed was the rapid rise of Android, a platform that would soon power millions, then billions, of devices worldwide. To Jobs, Android wasn't just competition, it was imitation. He believed Google had copied the essence of the iPhone, and from that moment on, the relationship turned hostile. What had once been collaboration became a deeply personal and strategic war, one that would play out over decades. As the years passed, the two companies built completely different empires. Apple created a tightly controlled ecosystem, often described as a walled garden, where every app, every service, and every experience is carefully curated. Google, on the other hand, chose scale and openness, allowing Android to spread across countless devices and manufacturers. On the surface, it looked like a classic rivalry: control versus expansion, privacy versus data-driven services. But the reality behind the scenes was far more complicated and far more surprising. Despite their rivalry, Apple and Google are deeply intertwined in one of the most lucrative deals in tech history. Every year, Google pays Apple billions of dollars to remain the default search engine on iPhones. Think about that for a moment. The company that competes with Google in nearly every area still relies on it for one of the most fundamental parts of the smartphone experience. This arrangement isn't just a business deal. It's a strategic alliance that ensures Google maintains its dominance in search, while Apple profits enormously without having to build its own competing system. It's a relationship that blurs the line between enemies and partners, behind closed doors. However, the war continues. Apple has been quietly developing alternatives to reduce its dependence on Google, from improving its own maps to enhancing its search capabilities within its ecosystem. Every update, every feature, every new service is a calculated move toward independence. Google, meanwhile, is equally determined to maintain its position inside Apple's ecosystem, knowing that losing default status on the iPhone could significantly weaken its grip on the global search market. It's a silent battle, fought not through announcements but through strategy, data, and long-term positioning. Now, this delicate balance is being challenged by governments and regulators around the world. Antitrust investigations are questioning whether deals like the one between Apple and Google are fair competition or something closer to market manipulation. Authorities are asking whether this partnership effectively blocks new players from entering the space, ensuring that the same two companies continue to dominate the digital landscape. The outcome of these investigations could reshape the entire tech industry, forcing changes that neither company fully controls. For users, the illusion of choice remains strong. You might think you're choosing between two completely different ecosystems, iPhone or Android, Apple or Google. But in reality, the lines are blurred. Even within Apple's tightly controlled environment, Google's services often play a central role. Your searches, your ads, your data, many of them still flow through Google systems, regardless of which device you use. The rivalry is real, but so is the dependency, creating a system where competition and cooperation exist side by side. As the future unfolds, the question isn't just who will win this war, but whether the war itself will change. Apple could eventually break free by building its own search engine, cutting one of its last major ties to Google. Google could strengthen its dominance, continuing to pay for its place within Apple's ecosystem while expanding its reach elsewhere. Or regulators could step in and disrupt the entire arrangement, opening the door for new competitors and reshaping the balance of power. What makes this story so compelling is that it isn't just about two companies. It's about control over the digital world you live in. Every tap on your screen, every search you make, every app you open is influenced by this ongoing conflict. Apple and Google may present themselves as rivals, but their relationship is far more intricate, operating like a syndicate that quietly defines how the modern internet works. And whether you realize it or not, you are already a part of it.